Welcome to the Meltdown. We're talking the business of sports with host Vince Thompson, the president, founder, and CEO of Melt, one of the leading sports marketing companies in the country.
Welcome back to this week's Meltdown. Man, have we got a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world of college football. I'm Vince Thompson, founder, chairman, CEO of Melt. Follow me on social media at Vinny Inc. or at MeltATL, and hit me up on LinkedIn as well. We appreciate all the comments from the past Meltdowns. The podcast's going really, really well. And boy, if you didn't think it could get any wilder in the business of college sports, well, buckle up today. I'm proud to say this is our 20th Meltdown. We started many months ago in the summer, providing you with a weekly update of all the insanity going on in the world of sports business and the college sports business. And boy, we got a lot to unpack today. Disney doubling down on the SEC. What's going on with the ratings of the NFL? How about the madness of the college football playoff? Is anybody going to go to the Rose Bowl? Are they going to let anybody go? I think we're in double digits of cancellation of the bowl games. What's going on in the world of head coaching and these insane buyouts? New ACC commissioner, my guy Burke Magnus, was not the guy, but Jim Phillips of Northwestern, who is hugely, hugely respected. NIL update, the Supreme Court, of goodness sakes. And back to my boy Burke Magnus, huge promotion at ESPN. So let's dive in right now. If you add it up, the Disney Corporation has a $7 billion investment in the SEC. And it's probably more than that, but let's go with round numbers today. So if you don't believe the SEC is a most vaunted collegiate brand and one of the most vaunted sporting brands in the world, I'll give you 7 billion reasons why. Purportedly, 6 times the amount annually that CBS was paying for that coveted 3:30 Eastern time slot. All of the eggs of the SEC are in one basket. Some people think it's a good idea, some don't. I actually think it is for lots of big reasons, but for a couple big reasons is that they will now be able to program the starting times of the games with some certainty and predictability, which could staunch the bleeding of lowering attendance, declining attendance at college football when we're able to go back, in post-COVID world. So I think it's good. I think it's probably going to contribute to the growth of ESPN Plus, obviously the streaming audience and the younger generation, cord cutters and those types of things. But also kudos to my guy, Greg Sankey. I mean, what a job he continues to do as he continues to emerge as a leader and in a force in college athletics and all of the thorny, sticky issues that we're all going to evolve in. And we're evolving in pre-COVID. And COVID has only accelerated those. But kudos to all my dear friends at the conference at ESPN and all the big winners there. And we dialed into my buddies Sankey and Burke. Leadership, trust. This deal probably was going to be done and announced at the Final Four, according to my sources. Obviously, the pandemic threw a lot of curbs, particularly into the Disney business model. I'm proud that we've had both Commissioner Sankey and Burke Magnus on the Melt U podcast. So continue to encourage your college students, friends and family to dial into those podcasts. Very valuable career information, as well as great networking opportunities with the finest in the world. And the big winners within the talent, Laura Rutledge, a dear friend, Herbie, whose opinion is moving Vegas betting odds. You see his comments on Devontae Smith, the great Maria Taylor, Reese, Paul, everybody. The COVID is going to force a lot of new viewership and consumption habits. But think about this. An average of $60 million a year per year will go into each SEC team's coffers, which is basically probably the next amount of the Auburn buyout for our next coach, which we'll get into in a little bit. A little friendly dig at my alumni here. NCAA basketball off and running, not without its fits and starts, but still really not knowing if we're going to have March Madness all in Indianapolis, Women's March Madness all in San Antonio. What's going on with Coach K? Coach Nate Oates of Alabama gave him a dig. Does he want to play? Is the deal what we'll call the Florida State or Michigan effect? I'm not going to play because of COVID, but I might have gotten beat anyway. Nate backtracked on that, but we're going to see what's going to happen there. But a lot of great questions, a lot of great impact. My bet is they will continue to figure out, just like the SEC did and the other conferences, how to play for the kids, and not least important, the television money that's going into the coffers, because you don't have that money revenue coming in from fans attending those events live. What's going on with NFL? Interesting timing, because all of their rights are up for bid in the next year or two. One could argue that CBS opted out of the SEC deal, as great as it was, and a tremendous run, and you know, my dear friend Craig Silver, the most vaunted producer of all time in that. But my sources say CBS was saving their dry powder for the NFL. But what's going on with the ratings? I mean, there's a lot of puzzlement with that. Saturation of sports on television. People are they consume with politics. People are tuning out, figuring they don't need the television. They're binge viewing on alternate forms of content such as Netflix, HBO Plus, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and those types of things. Is there a backlash against some of the civil expression, civil unrest there? And how will this impact the number going forward? My prediction net out is that it probably won't impact it going forward. It still is the greatest place to gather live eyeballs in a spot, whether it's on your mobile phone, a Buffalo Wild Wings, your home, your living room, and the legalization of wagering sweeping the states. Georgia's not there yet. I'm not sure Alabama will ever get there, but they're leaving money on the table. And fantasy will continue to sustain the growth and popularity of both the NFL and college going forward. NBA, what's going on here? Will they come out of the gates on December 22nd? Will they be able to maintain it traveling? Will there be fans? The NBA suffered a big hit on the ratings as well. Will that come back? Fans are not coming back yet, so they're lost. That's about 40% of the revenue from ticketing and attendance and concessions and all of that. I think the NBA and the MLS and those guys MLB sustained multi-billion-dollar losses. Obviously, there's no consistency within the states of who can come and who cannot come. Obviously, the thing about not playing the Rose Bowl, the 49ers are playing in Arizona. Toronto's going to play in Florida. Tampa, upside down, down is up. I mean, who knows what's going on now? Greek Freak signs the highest contract in the history of the NBA. What a tremendous story, and seemed like a great kid. Great special on him in 60 Minutes several years ago. Staying with a small, mid-sized market. I love the leadership of the Bucks. Peter Fagan, dear friend of mine from the past as well. So a lot on the horizon. And what in the heck is going on within the conference and the CFP? So let me get this straight. Florida loses to LSU in the great shoe caper, one of the greatest other than the P Bowl and the Egg Bowl in Ole Miss, Mississippi State last year. But they only dropped one, and Ohio State's played 4 games. It's 5, really. We know they're great. We know they're loaded, but Alabama is 10-0. Notre Dame, ACC, Clemson rematch. If Clemson beats Notre Dame, they're obviously in. If Notre Dame beats Clemson twice, is Clemson in? Is Ohio State in? The Pac-12 is still irrelevant, but USC is 5-0 as well. And then what about the guys knocking on the door, the Cincinnati Bearcats? We know they don't draw big. We know this is all about the ratings. We know there may not be a Rose Bowl because California is going to probably be shut down for about 7 more years. And that's obviously the granddaddy of them all. But it's crazy. And obviously the Heisman race, Mack and Cal. But Watch this Devontae kid, and he loves this turf. Don't forget he scored that winning touchdown as a freshman in the national championship game, Alabama versus Georgia. I was right there in front of me, and the guy is like a gazelle. So we got a lot of viewing, and we've got some non-conference championships and non-championship games on Saturday as well. It's a shame that Georgia didn't have J.T. Mathison sooner, and it's a shame that Georgia could not play Texas A&M this Saturday because it probably could vault Georgia, into it. But it's going to be a great Saturday. Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, Florida. We're going to see what's happening. But my opinion is I don't think anybody can beat the Crimson Tide, and I think Nick probably goes down into the record books with his record-breaking national championship. What do I think? If anybody cared, I don't think Florida's that good. I really never thought they were that good. I think Kyle is good. I like Dan, but clearly an unwieldy, undisciplined team this year. I love this Coastal Carolina story. I love this Liberty story. I love the Hugh Freeze story. I love what's happening at Cincinnati. I love the fact that we've been to see all this exciting football, not Cream Puff Saturday and those types of things. And hopefully we'll stick to some of that. Obviously, ESPN, ABC, Disney is going to have a lot of impact on scheduling going forward because they do control all the pipes at the SEC, all the pipes at the ACC, some ABC money in the Big Ten, most of the pipes at the Big 12, and then who knows what's going on with the Pac-12, but we'll see from there. But it certainly has been an enjoyable fall viewing the football, seeing these relevant matchups every Saturday, see the insanity. Like I said, the Shoegate and other things. And like I said, the granddaddy of them all is Granddaddy going to take a nap this year for the Tournament of Roses Parade and the Rose Bowl. I love the venue. It's absolutely the worst place to get in and out of, but it damn sure looks good on television. And when you're in the vaunted Rose Bowl, I've seen multiple football games there, concerts, soccer matches, and those types of things as well. There's a lot of inside lobbying, internal discussion. But I will tell you this, it's probably a shame if you don't let the parents go see these kids play in this. And so I advocate moving the game to Jerry's World or here or wherever for the opportunity that the kids have sacrificed for 4 years. They've sacrificed this fall. They've played against all odds. Kudos to the commissioners for pulling it off, especially Sankey. So let's see what happens. Is Grandpa going to take a nap this year? 13 canceled total bowl games, which makes a lot of sense for several reasons. Most of them are owned by ESPN. Most of them exist to fill shelf space, inventory space on cable. But it was very costly for the families and the teams to travel from Florida to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl in Boise. So you're seeing a lot of that. Hey, it doesn't make sense. Players are opting out. Kids are opting out. Fans are opting out. I think you will see a consolidation of these bowls. You still see some title sponsorships, but the local revenues from sponsorship and tickets have dried up, and obviously a lot of NFL prospects don't want to play. A lot of teams have been devastated by COVID, don't want to play. And if you think Michigan opting out of Ohio State or Florida State opting out of Clemson, this is a no-brainer as it relates to the opt-out. And the bowl was obviously a reward for the teams and the players and their families to enjoy a season well played. The Saban effect, is there a bigger tree in the planet? It's just amazing. Look at all the coaches who've been at these institutions since Nick has been at Alabama. So you've got the graveyard of Saban. You also have the coaching tree of Saban, which newly minted Will Muschamp and Gus Malzahn and these crazy, ridiculous buyouts and the clown show with Kevin Sumlin and I think I want to find where that line forms, where in college football and in NFL football you failed up, you're paid to fail. What a great system that is, and no assistant has beaten him yet. So we'll see what happens there. great hire at the ACC. Like I said, my guy was Burke Magnus, but everything I hear about Jim Phillips is just unbelievable. Nearly died as a child, got hit on his bicycle by a drunk driver, recovered for a year. What he's done at Northwestern. I was there several years ago producing Game Day, working on Game Day for Coke, and you could just feel it. You could just even feel it then. And so the job that he's done is going to be is amazing. I think it's a great hire. I love the hire. I typically don't advocate hiring from within the college executive fraternity, but I think this is a big hire. And obviously the wild card of wild cards is what's going to happen with Notre Dame with their conference affiliation versus the NBC money. So we're going to see what happens. Jack Swarbrick, the AD of Notre Dame, is one of the best operators there is. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we talked about there's a major case that the Supreme Court, the Alston case, that they have taken up and could have huge impacts on the NCAA, their long-term survival rate, the compensation of student athletes, and it's going to create a huge domino effect. But if you continue to read between the lines of all of these judgments and all of these rulings and all of this legislation, both introduced federally and in the state, everything is trending toward favoring the student athlete, which it should. Everything is trending toward diminishing the NCAA, which it should. We've been talking about how the NCAA could have gone from an enforcement to an enhancement institution for many years and chose not to. I myself have had a lot of dealings with them as well. But I think it's going to be a massive opportunity. If you even just look at the phenomenon of the young lady, the kicker at Vanderbilt, and the impact she had in the press and the media and social media and Vanderbilt as an institution and the value of earned media and how many companies would have lined up behind her that weren't advertising in college athletics now. And that's just one prototype or microcosm of where I see a multi-billion-dollar opportunity emerging in our space. What's Winthrop doing? They have led the way. Great institution, real response, holding accountability within all of that. As we've seen, the student athletes have kind of finally figured out their place in the equation, is that they had the power all along. Yes, they were getting great scholarships, but they are the content. They are the product. We've talked about it ad nauseum here. We've talked about the impact on primetime going to Jackson State. We've talked about possibly Bronny James and that future, and I'm sure those contracts are probably being negotiated now. So if the HBCU schools were a betting stock, I would bet long on them, because you're going to see this is not going to – the genie is sort of out of the bottle on that. And, again, Gus, great guy, ran out of runway. I've often argued many times that Cam Newton made Gus Malzahn a very, very wealthy man. Great coach, but once in a generational player. And I don't think Gus is a great guy. Christy's a great guy, great friends, but really kind of never fit into the Auburn family. We did have some hell of a roller coaster rides. We had the kick six. We had Cam in 10, even though he was the OC. We had 2017. Just some crazy highs and lows. But the $21 million buyout, not feeling it. Never felt it. Never made sense to get compensated to fail. Also doesn't make sense when the athletic department's under great financial duress, talking about cutting out non-revenue sports and these types of things. And I'm hoping that at some point sanity will return to this. But, hey, Gus did a lot of great things for the university, and I'll be thankful for that. Did run a great program, like I said, tremendous highs and lows within that, but probably, overdue for some fresh blood. One could argue the renewal of the contract or the extension of the contract when we were all sort of euphoric coming off of beating Alabama and Georgia was an emotional decision, not a business decision. Probably cost Dr. Leith his job if I were a betting man as well. But it's time to move forward, and we'll see what new blood the Auburn family brings in there as well. So that's it for this week's Meltdown. Don't forget, the new book, Bill Brand New, is out and available on Amazon right now. Great holiday Christmas stocking stuff for Merry Christmas. We'll be back next week before Christmas. I'm Vince Thompson, founder, chairman, CEO of Melt. And that's it for this week's Meltdown.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MeltATL. And follow Vince at Vinny Inc. and on LinkedIn as Vince Thompson.